Today's guest is Charlie Fitzgibbon. He's the founder at Edinburgh Construction. So Charlie, thank you for coming on the show.
No, thanks for having me, Tats. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so you retained a PR firm to get your name out there. Obviously, how to do this well. Leaving school at 15 and having a operating successful construction company at 26, my mind goes and says, what was Charlie like as a kid?
There's probably lots of ways to describe them that's maybe not suitable for for a podcast. But yeah, I guess in short, school wasn't really for me in any practical purpose. It was more about having fun and hanging out with your mates and things like that. And I got out
Yeah.
of there as soon as it was legally possible. I remember having a careers meeting with a teacher, and my careers meeting went along the lines of, "We were going to give you an application form for the local supermarket, but the printer's not working, so good luck." And off I went. But yeah, not very interested in school, I guess would be.
How are the adults in your life taking this?
My parents sort of, they just had to accept it because I was pretty set on it. My dad actually did the exact same thing when he was that age. So he worked as engineer in the Merchant Navy and started that career at the age of 16 and left home and never really went back actually. So
Well, it
he,
helps, right? I mean, it sounds like your dad did okay.
yeah, he's done fine. Enjoyed it. He's had a good career out of it. So he could hardly complain. I mean, there was definitely, I think, lots of doubts as to whether I'd actually do anything meaningful. But as the years went by, I guess they realised that I wasn't just doing it to get out of study or work.
Sure. So, I mean, were you clear at that time when when you sort of left school at 15 where you wanted to go, or you just knew that this what I'm doing now wasn't for me?
I had no idea where I was going, but like I said, I just knew it wasn't school. I realised it was a big bad world out there, and there's lots to see and lots to do, and I wanted to go see it and explore it. So I landed in construction. It wasn't really that deliberate, but found myself various sort of jobs in construction, sort of labourer type jobs, were really bottom of the rung stuff, and was offered an apprenticeship, and then it just grew arms and legs from there.
Yeah. I mean, what interests you about roles in the construction industry?
I found construction and still do find construction fascinating. It really sings to me. I always thought I had quite clever hands and liked doing practical work, and I was just sort of mesmerized by what was going on, and not just building buildings, which in itself was really captivating, but just the whole dynamic, the different roles, how people interact with each other, how sites were set up, how the business worked. I found the whole thing really interesting. One of the companies I worked for quite early on was a small family business, so I got to see firsthand all the different elements, and how my boss would sort of land projects and how I put them together and how I deal with clients. And I just found the whole thing fascinating, and I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah. You said, how do you deal with clients? Well, how do you deal with clients?
How long have you got? It's well, for us, that's been a huge learning journey, and I think the simple answer, one of many answers, but a simple one, it's not about how to manage clients; it's how to find the right clients for you. That's one thing that we've learned. So in the early days, you'd be picking up whatever projects would come your way, and now we're very selective about what we take on. We want to understand the client, who they are. Is it a good match for us? Do they match our values? Do they see things in a way that will, be reciprocal of our way of working? So yeah, I think the easiest way to not get into trouble with the client is to get the right client in the first instance.
Yeah, you saw it mentioned sort of values and stuff like that. What are your values?
Uh, there's a few, but the sort of standout ones is, they're all cliches, right? But cliches are there for a reason, and they're a bit cringy to recite them. But things like quality of work, we have standards and we won't drop them. Um, there's other builders out there that are build them cheap and fast. That's fine for them. It's not us. So quality has to be there. We believe in quality of product, high specification. And when I say high specification, I don't mean luxury or super expensive. Just good quality projects. Um, we believe in developing the workforce. So I want to create a work environment where people feel good, they feel comfortable, they feel like they can interact with the company as if it was their own. They've got support networks, there's open dialogue, open communications. Uh, they can challenge us just as much as we challenge them. So that was a strong ethos of mine, is building a workplace where people would enjoy being there. And then other things are a strong focus on health and safety. Want to make sure that everybody goes home at the end of the day with all their fingers and in one piece, and not just physical but mentally as well, not carrying an over amount of stress on their shoulders. And sustainability as well. We're really sort of pushing that agenda to make sure that we're working ethically and responsibly in the current and future climates.
Yeah, for sure. So when you started, I think age-wise, roughly 20. Um, who helped you, or what were some of the things you had to go through to get going? Because it's business. Starting a business is hard enough, but doing it roughly around 20, there
I
must be
was
some stories there.
sure. Well, I was 25 when I started the business,
Oh, okay.
so I'm 31 now. So 6 years, 6, 7 years. Well, I was maybe a bit earlier. Yeah, so business has been going for 7 years now. So I'd had 10 years working in the industry at various roles, and I was very fortunate to work some really great roles. So in my early 20s, I was picked up by a company, big international company that did client side project management. They put me through their management training program. And I was fortunate enough to be put underneath some fantastic individuals who really inspired me and showed me what leadership is in the full breadth of the industry, and how I could take that by the horns and make the most of it. So when it came to starting the business, I already had a bit of a network to fall upon, through previous employers, even clients, who I'd worked with. The role that I had prior to starting the business was a very client facing role, and I had lots of support already through that, so we could really hit the ground running. And I put a lot of our growth, I think, is down to that. Is that we hit the ground running. We had some support, we had some clients. I mean, I before starting the business, I had people asking me, "When are you going to start your own business?" Because we've got all these things we want to do. So it was in the oven, ready to go, and then it's just a case of taking the leap and executing.
Yeah, for sure. Um, those so that's awesome, right? Making sure everything is as ready as you can. What were the things you weren't ready for?
Oh, almost everything. To be honest, I mean, starting a business is not for the faint-hearted, particularly if you have the annoying trait of being ambitious, which I seem to have, because growth is a real challenge, and I think it's easy to fall victim to being naive and to not fully understand what's ahead of you. So lots of fast learning. So from recruitment, hiring the right people, building the right team, financing and cash flow, making sure that we had cash flow and access to finance to sustain our growth, understanding who we were in the marketplace, understanding our identity. So that's changed a lot. When I think as you go through the years of owning a business, you get more and more of a refined idea of who you are and what your value offering is to the marketplace. So we've had to learn where we sit and what we do best. Um, Understanding sort of delegation and sort of building a management structure so that you're not running around doing everything is a big challenge. And full transparency. All the things I'm listing are still challenges and learning I'm going through today. I've not managed to find the magic solution to any of this by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah, the issues are multifaceted.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned something about hiring the right team around you and stuff. And a lot of that is related to complementary skills, right? So, what do you do well? And what sort of team did you have to build around you to complement?
Sure. So, I mean, my strengths, most of my experience was in operational elements of the business. So I knew how to build a building, I knew how to set up a job site, I knew how the logistics worked, I knew how to project manage. So that that side of things was my comfort space. What was going to be new was marketing, sales, finance, and commercial. Those were the areas that I had to sort of quickly adapt. So what I did initially was I actually started hiring people in the area that I was already comfortable with because I knew that I could quickly understand. I could understand straight away if things were being managed properly, and that allowed me the freedom to dive headfirst into the other areas that were less comfortable to build up my knowledge and understanding. So the first team I built was in the operations, so everything from hiring tradespeople, the site managers, and the operational management team. So sort of three tiers to the team there, and that I understood and identified was the quickest department that I could get up and running and functional. And today, operations is the least I have to get involved in. I'm quite confident that we've got a team there that deliver. I mean, I ask questions and we have weekly and monthly meetings where we can digest what's going on. But building the operations team was a quick win, and then it was building a finance team, building a marketing side, building a commercial side, and learning from me. And I found that my skill sets was in the sort of being the face of the company and building the relationships with prospective clients, supply chain, and various stakeholders, and that's where my attention had to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people do the reverse of what you did. It's clever. They go, I want to outsource the areas I hate, right? They don't know anything about it and they try to find. So your strategy was, hey, what am I strong at? I'm going to outsource that because I know who's good. I know what the standards are. And then I need to dive into the other areas and know it well enough that maybe I can run it better. And then I can get good enough where I can evaluate the talent to know what I'm looking for. Does that kind of sum it up?
Exactly. I mean, like I didn't know the first thing about marketing or sales. So how the hell was I going to employ somebody to do it for me? I don't know what to look for. I don't know. So I really had to. I understood that that's where I had to spend some time just in that space and doing it myself. I mean, the early days of the business, I was doing everything, not because I wanted to, but because I had to understand it. And I had to. I thought that would be the quickest way to progress is to throw myself into it, understand it, and then I could start to build the correct teams to do it on the business's behalf.
Yeah. You mentioned the process of figuring out who you were in the marketplace. What advice would you give to people that haven't quite figured it out and they're really trying to find their place? What sort of questions or prompts can you give them to sort of help them hone into who they are?
Yeah, I mean, understand what you're good at first and foremost. So know know your strengths, know where that sits, and you're always going to get off to a better start if you're doing something that you know well and you understand. So understand who you are, where your strengths are, and what you can deliver of value. Have a plan. So sort of decide an idea of where you want to end up and where that's going to go, and then reverse engineer that backwards. Um, and then go for it because no, when I say go for it, I don't mean that flippantly, but go for it and don't treat your plan as gospel either. I think some of the best plans are agile and have got a bit of flexibility in it. Us understanding our identity was mostly around trial and error a bit. We got into some contracts at the beginning that we no longer would do now because we've understood that's not the best place for us to spend our time. Like at the beginning, we were doing a lot of B2C work, so doing prime residences, direct for clients. And whereas we could do it, we realized that compared to B2B, so working for developers, working for architects, working surveyors, we delivered more value there. And we wouldn't have known that had we have not tried both. So it was a case of just getting out there and getting started and then being observant enough to take the lessons and implement that into the plan and adjust the plan as we went.
So actions create clarity.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And take
Perfect,
that feedback and learn from it.
for sure. Now I know that sustainability and innovation is important to you. Walk me through your thoughts on that.
I mean, there's no easy answer to either. Um, I think it's easy to try and go big and save the world or try and reinvent the wheel or anything like that. I find that some of the biggest successes can be made in the sort of boring areas and the low hanging fruit. Not trying to be Superman, save the world, but just saying, right, what can we do to move the needle? So looking at sustainability, I mean, we've got three main areas to focus on, and that is the product that we build, i.e., the houses, the spaces that people are going to occupy, and are they efficient? Second of all, is the sites that we're operating. So the construction sites, how's waste being managed? How's material being managed? We're doing it effectively and efficiently. How's the plant? That are using diesel or other um, plant that gives emissions. And then thirdly, it's as a business. So within our office building, within our management processes, within our decision making, what we're doing. So it's just breaking that down into the sections and then in little bite-sized chunks and go, okay, so is the fleet of vans that we have, are they modern? Are they fuel efficient? We're getting you know making the best decisions there. Our management process, when we're putting a project program together, we're thinking about how waste is going to be managed and how materials are going to be managed. We're not wasting anything, and just taking it into bite-sized chunks. It sounds really boring, and it is really boring. But I think that's where you can make the most progress, and it's easy today to you know have companies throw around buzzwords, and you get a lot of greenwashing, and we're doing this and we're doing that. But I think from our perspective, it's a bit more feet on the ground and thinking, right, what's the real things that we can do today? What's the real things that we can start to put into motion? And what's the goals and targets we can't achieve today, but we're going to work towards being in a position where we can achieve those things and taking it from there.
Yes. Sounds like not chasing perfection.
No, it doesn't exist, does it? It's like the Wizard of Oz. But if you're on the journey and you're putting in the effort, then I think you'll end up pretty close in the end.
Perfect. I mean, is there any advice or thing that I did not ask you, but you wanted to share?
I mean, we talked about the team. I think that's so important. So hiring the right people, I think, is one thing that I've came to learn is so important. I mean, at the beginning, I was either hiring people that I liked but couldn't do the job, or people that could do the job but I didn't like, or they weren't a personality fit. So now I put so much focus on recruitment. Second, third interviews, interviews with different members of the team, references, probation periods, all that, to really make sure that you've got the right person. Because if the personality fit isn't there, it's going to impact the wider team, and that's going to erode productivity and sort of the energy in the workplace. So I think that's really important. And then being realistic about your growth and how you're going to fund it. So growth is an investment, and somebody needs to make that investment. So it's brilliant to have grand ideas of 10xing in a year and all the rest of it, but who's paying for it? Any business growth is an investment. So you need to be realistic with your cash flows and say, okay, so this is my plan. How am I going to fund it? Um, and then the other thing I say is, one thing that I like to do is just put yourself in as many places and situations and meetings in front of many as many people as possible, because I think the more you get out there, the more you network, the more introductions you make, and that pays dividends in the long run, because you never know who will introduce you to who will say, "Oh yeah, I remember you from such and such, and let's go grab a coffee." And it could lead to a new client, a new business partner, whatever it might be. So I think those would be some things that I would put a lot of importance behind.